All right, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to be trying out a solo self-found Whirlwind Barbarian, uh, naming him after the lead singer of a band called Dead or Alive, which is the band that sings the song You Spin Me Round, since he'll be spinning a lot. Sorry for the dad jokes, but get used to them. All right, let's get started. Let's see.
Good day. Good day.
Okay. If you couldn't hear me before, hopefully you can now. Making a brand new character. I'm naming convention. His name is Pete B. Pete Burns is the lead singer of a band called Dead or Alive. They sing a song called You Spin Me Round like a record. And he's going to be a Whirlwind Barbarian. Probably my favorite skill on the Barbarian. Pretty challenging to play. Barbarians as a whole are. Not going to be using Warcry to deal damage, as that doesn't require as much gear. I wanted this to be more of a gear-focused build run. Full disclosure, I am playing with some mods. Just a few. Let me bring them up so I can tell you. All right, so you'll see right away, if you've played the game before, I have a bigger stash and a bigger inventory. I just like to be able to loot things. For the purposes of keeping it fair, I'll be restricting my charm inventory to a vanilla size, so that being 10 by 4. Anything below that I can't put charms in, because otherwise I'd be artificially stronger than a vanilla character. I just like to have lots of storage room because I'm a loot goblin. Much like my favorite Diablo 2 streamer, Zarfin. If you haven't checked him out, I highly recommend him. So I'm playing with the Reign of the Warlock expansion. Got the gem tab, materials tab, rune tab. Lets you stack materials, saves a lot of space, and have the shared stash tabs. As you can see, they're completely empty. I cleaned out my saves before I started this, and I'm going to allow myself to use all this just because I like loot, and I tend to hoard. That really changed gameplay. So, yeah. You'll probably notice that I switch between keyboard and mouse and controller. I have tendinitis in my hands, so it's more comfortable half the time for me to half the time play on a controller, and I switch it up so I'm not putting a lot of stress on my hands. So you'll probably see little pauses while it switches between the inputs, and so that would be why. Well, I'm just gonna go start killing some monsters. Oh yeah, almost forgot.
Beware foul demons and beasts.
Besides the stash size and inventory size increases, I also have a slight increase to magic item drops, magic, unique, set items, and runes. When I'm playing offline, I don't see it as a problem, and it's more fun when you have more loot. So I'm playing with those. About, I said it's about 8 times more. I know that seems like a lot. It's really not that much. Loot's pretty rare in this game, like good loot. So yeah, that's the way I like to play, and that's what I'm gonna do. All right. Okay, almost forgot. Switch one control around. No, it's not a control. It's a skill thing. I like my attack to be on right trigger. Feels natural. If you're coming from like first-person shooters, that tends to be the button for attacking, so feels natural to me. Kill a few monsters. And actually, I think I'm going to increase the difficulty setting, so I can get some more early experience. If you don't know, you can go to options. This is possible on PC and console, but it's more important on console because you can't as easily type on console. But you can also do it on PC even if you have the keyboard. Change the slider, and it simulates that you have more players in the game. And in Diablo 2, more players means monsters are stronger, also yield better drops and more experience. It can be fun to increase the player settings to get a little bit more XP and get better drops. So that monster was spawned before I changed the player settings, so he's still set the player one player. As I get further out, monsters will get harder to kill, but also yield more experience. These guys all spawned on one player setting. Here's the Den of Evil, first quest. I like to just set a TP and then down portal. And then go find the waypoint to the next area so I can get back easily. As you can see, these monsters are a little harder to kill, but also give me much more experience. That being the white bar next to my health. Alright, first item, little hand axe. This got. I usually don't pick up low quality items unless they can have a plus to skills, because they tend to sell for a lot. 15% enhanced damage. Not huge, but a little bit of an increase. Put that. And starting items are always worth 1 gold, so not really worth keeping to sell. Alright, level up already? Okay. The skill shrine. Raises your skills by, I want to say it's 3? I'm gonna start out with Bash because, well, I can't really be a Whirlwind Barbarian until level 30. And Bash is the first attack skill. We'll select that. And I can bind that to another key. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the right bumper, right above the regular attack. It does cost a little mana, so I will run out. I only have 11 mana to start. Barbarian doesn't start with very much. I'm not going to pick any masteries yet. I'll find a good item to stick with. Then I can invest into those. So as I was saying, now that I have a skill, we can, pretty sure it's 3 skill bonus temporarily. Oh no, it's 2. That is just a temporary little bonus. Gives you a little extra damage. And attack rating in this case for Bash. As you can see, Bash is kind of got a knockback. A lot of Diablo 2 players don't like knockback because then you got to chase down the monsters. But if you get in the habit of playing hardcore, where one death is permanent and you don't get to respawn, knockback can be pretty useful to get you out of sticky situations. Now this is a shrine I definitely want. XP shrine, just pretty self-explanatory. You get extra experience from monsters. Combine that with the player's 8 and we'll be doing good. Get a few early levels. As you can see, a lot of modern RPGs don't have this, but this game has a stamina system right next to my mana bubble. That little bar refilling. Once you run out, you can only walk. That is to create a bit of tension in the fact that if you're trying to run away and you run out of stamina, you could more easily be murdered. And also, it's a bit of a callback to the original Diablo. For those who don't know, I actually started with the original Diablo 1 way back when it first came out. My dad went out and bought it for our 486 computer, and we had a grand old time. I love that game. Diablo 2 is my favorite, but Diablo 1 has a special place in my heart. And in that game, you couldn't run at all. There was no running, only walking. And combine that with the atmosphere of the game, and it felt very tense. You never knew when you're going to get yourself surrounded by a bunch of fast monsters and be ended. I played a lot of that game back in the day when I was a kid, and it was always creepy. One of the most creepy parts of that game was an early boss called the Butcher. And as a young, under 10-year-old child, there was not really much scarier than that. I don't want to spoil it too much. If you have a chance to play Diablo 1 and you're okay with a little bit outdated systems, I highly recommend it, and the Butcher is an experience for sure. Kill a few more monsters, get another level up. Got a rare. That's cool. See what that is here in a minute. Got to level up again. Hey. Mitchell Stone says this is going to be a full playthrough. Yes, my plan is to take this character all the way through to Hell Baal, the final boss.
Turn back, halt.
For those who don't know, Diablo 2 has 3 difficulties. Actually, the original Diablo had 3 difficulties, but it worked a little differently. In this game, you start in normal, and once you beat the game, quote unquote, in normal, beating the final boss, it starts over again at the beginning of the story, but this time everything's harder. Monsters, bosses all have more HP, do more damage, and so the stakes are higher. At Nightmare difficulty, once you beat Nightmare, you go into Hell difficulty, the highest difficulty level, and that's where things get really tough. monsters start having immunities to certain damage types, and you can very easily be murked in a few seconds if you're not careful. And the Barbarian is one of the hardest characters to kind of control a crowd with. So you gotta be very, very tactical and careful. Wow. Pick your fights, kite the enemies so that you only deal with what you are capable of handling at the time. Very much a tactical play. Okay, so I opened up the town portal to the den so I can get right back there. I'm going to go there now, clear it out. This is the first quest of the game. You have to clear out this whole den. Most of the time you don't clear out every single monster in areas. It's a rule, just because it's not really worth the time. There are boss monsters, or what they call unique monsters, and they spawn with a set of minions, and they're worth several times more experience than a regular monster. So for example, speedrunners tend to just bypass regular monsters and go for the uniques just to get that boosted experience. And that's kind of the play style I like to go for the most part. It depends on my mood, of course. But Den of Evil, specifically, the quest is to clear it out of all monsters. And the reward is worth getting. You get a free skill point. So skill points are a limited, finite resource in this game. So you want as many as you can get. You don't skip them. As you can see, I'm going for the shaman before I hit the little guys. It's because they can revive the little red guys. And that's annoying. The revived monsters yield you no extra experience. No experience at all after the first kill. So it's just tedious work at that point. So kill the shaman, I don't have to worry about it. I'm usually pretty selective in my looting. Short bow that's just magical probably isn't worth picking up. It's not going to sell for much. It's not even worth using a scroll of identify on. It probably won't even sell for more than the scroll it costs. When you play the game, it's been as long as I have, going on, 30 years, something like that. I would say it's like 25 years. You learn what's worth picking up and what's not. And of course that changes based on what kind of playstyle you're going for, what character you're on. If you're going solo self-found, where you can only use items you find and not from your other characters, it'll change. But there's definitely some relatively hard rules. Charms, I always pick up charms. And keys are useful because locked chests, you don't want to have to run back to town just to get a chest. Early on, stamina potions can be nice, so you make sure you don't run out of stamina. And sometimes I even put them in my belt so I can drink one on the run. Especially good when you're trying to run through areas or trying to run away from a tough fight. It's not a cowardly move, it's a tactical retreat, as they say. Alright, kill the shamans. As you can see also, the shamans are the little red guys that fall in. When something dies, they run away. You use that to your advantage. Kill one, and you break up the packs. And that's the time when you want to actually kill one before you kill all the shamans, so you don't get too much aggro. Alright. One strike at a time. One of the things I want to look for early is a two-socketed armor. Doesn't really matter what the base item is, as long as it has two sockets and it's a gray text like this. Notice this is blue text, this is gray text. The reason I want this armor is when I hit level 17, I want to build what's called a rune word. You can take items that are called runes in this game. They're things you can insert into your armor, weapon, shield, or helmets that have sockets. And with runes specifically, if you put certain ones in certain order, you can create a rune word. And rune word items tend to be some of the best in this game. So the one I want to create in this armor is called Stealth. Takes a Tal rune and an Eth rune. Minimum level 17 for the Tal rune. But it's got some faster run walk, which is useful for hiding enemies. It also has some dexterity, some poison resistance. And if you're a caster class, it also has... oh man, lost my train of thought. It has faster cast rate. And that's useful for obvious reasons. You can cast your spells faster. That won't be useful for this character, but the other stats will be nice. Go back to town. My inventory's full. Clear it out. Make a few bucks. Take stock of the items I found. Maybe I find an upgrade. Let's see what we got. Okay, got a staff here. Extra damage to the undead. +2 to charge bolt. Sorceress only. That doesn't help me. But it sells for a couple grand. Definitely nice little money find. These throwing potions, they stack up to a certain amount, in this case 25. And early on, they can be a nice little source of extra money. As you can see, a full stack of 25 is worth 500 and only takes up one slot. I always pick those up early on to make my initial seed money, as they say. Another nice little early money, +1 to Inferno. Any item that has +2 certain skills tends to be worth picking up. Staffs, wands. Oh my goodness, wow, look at that wand. I will get back to that in a minute. But anyway, staffs, wands, daggers recently got added to that list for the Warlock, the new class. And scepters and some other items all have a chance to get what's called a staff mod. And that's basically, even if they're white text or gray text items like this, they can have +2 skills. That's obviously useful for the character that wants that, or that is that class. But also, things with + skills, especially higher level skills, usually sell for a lot more money in shops. As an example, let's find this staff with some good mods. So like this staff right here, sell from the shop, has +1 to Ice Blast, +1 to Charge Bolt, +2 to Warmth, and it sells for, I could buy it for 22 grand. And that's just the reason it's so expensive, is because of the +2 skills. So picking up items that can have those are a good way to make some money. Gold is used for mostly gambling. Now, to this wand, my favorite character is the Necromancer. And my favorite Necromancer build is summoning. And his main source of damage as a summoner is well, 2 parts really, but one of them is skeletons. And has +3, which is the highest maximum roll for a +2 skills on a white, blue, gray, or rare item, yellow. And not only does it have +3 to raise skeleton, which is the main skill, also has +3 to amplify damage. And that curse is a curse. You cast it on an area, and it affects monsters in that area. Amplify damage makes monsters take 100% extra physical damage. That is essentially double damage, and that can break monsters' immunity if they are immune to physical damage. And skeletons happen to do all physical damage. So it's usually the main curse you use for most monsters. This staff is absolutely nuts for a starting necromancer. And I'm going to put it in my stash as a trophy, if nothing else. Fun stuff. Right. Poison res. I mean, anything's really an upgrade. Hacker takes damage. Got this. Okay. Identify scrolls. Need a lot of those early on to identify all the stuff you find. Let's see what we got here. +1 max damage. Hey, that's better than nothing. And early on, that's actually not awful. Let's club. Ooh, 1 to 3 lightning damage. That's a nice little upgrade. So 3 to 7. We'll also do like 2 to 9. Definitely a nice little upgrade. So that. Let's see. Extra damage to undead, a little poison damage. Not amazing. Okay, but my club is better. I mean, it is fast, but what is this? So, ethereal boots. Probably not even worth identifying. Ethereal items, as you can see on the tooltip, cannot be repaired. And as such, they only last a certain amount of time unless they have a specific modifier called repairs durability, which does what it sounds like. It repairs itself over time. Or they are indestructible, and that's a pretty rare mod. There's only certain ways to get it. And you're not going to find it early on, and these are just beginner boots, so I'm just going to sell them. Notably, most items, when you sell them to shops, show up in their inventory. Ethereal items do not. They disappear. Okay, +1 to dexterity. That's better than nothing. This little +1 amp damage, worth 1,000 gold. Nice little bit of cash. All right. Large time. 7% gold find. I mean, I can't use it till level 5, but it's free for now, essentially. Takes up 2 slots. Gives me a nominal amount of extra gold. One of the things barbarians are best at is actually finding extra gold. Because they have a skill called Find Item, you can use this skill on the bodies of fallen enemies to have a chance at finding another set of loot. Basically looting the body. And because that extra roll happens with the barbarian, they're really good at making lots of gold. There's certain areas in the game where you can get more than others, and sorry, I got a little distracted. This javelin's pretty cool. See, 1 to 6. This is 1 to 6, but I can also throw it. You know what? Why not? I'll stab things. I like to poke things. All right, let's see what this rare armor is. Nice little upgrade. Go ahead and use that. Basically, strictly better. All right, sell that off. So anyway, as I was saying, this skill, where is it? It's in here. Find item. You see, use on the corpse of a slain monster to find hidden treasures. And as you increase the level, the chance to find something goes up. With good gear, usually ends up around 50%. So basically, every monster is worth 1.5 times the loot value they would normally have. That skill is colloquially called horking, I think it's because of the sound he makes. He kind of goes, hurt, 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 while he's doing it. Kind of sounds like some sort of weird walrus or something. And he can find extra items. Pretty nice. Anyway, long-winded explanation, but good info if you don't know this game. Okay, so I'll put this in the stash. This little trophy wand. Gotta love it. I take that as a good omen for the playthrough that I found such a cool wand. And let's see, organize my stash. That's another thing I like about controller is you can just long press the right stick and it will organize your inventory or your stash or whatever you're looking at. Usually a good idea to come over and repair all your gear over at Charcy, the blacksmith. Ooh, that is a nice base for the stealth. 39 defense. Be pretty much free. Other than this, so don't mind if I do. Go ahead and put that in stash for later. Get rid of this other one. And once more into the breach. Right, steady, steady. Spear's pretty cool. Sweet, another level up. Actually, I haven't been putting anything in my stats or my skills, except for that first level. Let's see what we got. I guess I should get away from the monsters so they don't come and eat me while I'm leveling. Okay, I have 3 skill points. So to get to Whirlwind, level 30, on the skills pages of each character, there's 3 tabs. So basically each character has 3 different tabs of skill types. Barbarian has combat skills, which are like attack skills you use with your weapon. Combat masteries, kind of passives that enhance him, either like their weapon type they use, how fast they run, defense bonus, resistance bonus. Those are all passives. And then war cries, which have varying effects. The war cries are kind of on the left side here. These are in this tree, but they're not really war cries. I'll go over those in a minute. But what the war cries do sorry about that. Got a text message. I got to make sure I check that for potential family stuff. Depending on the war cry, it does different things. For instance, this one makes monsters run away from you in the area around you. This one makes them come after you. But the most useful, arguably, 2 skills in this tree are battle orders, which increases your life, mana, stamina for a duration. Incredibly powerful. And higher levels increase that number to crazy amounts. Combine that with the fact that barbarians get a lot of life per vitality point. See, we're 63 now. Put a few points in. He gets 4 points of life for 1 point of vitality. So he has pretty high base life if you pump points into vitality. Combine that with a percentage-based bonus, and he can get into incredible, crazy amounts of life. Thousands. 3,000, 4,000 life. Another good One is Warcry. This one actually is a skill that can be built around. You could use this as your primary damage if you want. Yes, I know, kind of strange that a barbarian would be yelling at monsters to kill them. It is pretty funny, but it's also very powerful. People tend to call him the Singer Barb. I've played the Singer Barb, a lot of fun. But again, my favorite build is the Whirlwind. Then on this side, I feel like they put these here because they just kind of didn't really fit anywhere else. Also, each skill tree has 10 skills, so they needed to fill out this tree. Find potion. It's like the find item skill, sorry, that I was talking about earlier, except it specifically finds potions. Not the most useful skill, as you can imagine, but it can be useful in certain situations. I watched a streamer do a hobo build, or a hobo run, rather, where they couldn't go back to town. Any shops were off limits, and so they couldn't buy potions. And as you get into the game more, you'll need potions to keep yourself alive. So this skill could be useful on that type of build. And then Grimward is kind of strange. You create a totem out of a dead body, and monsters are scared by it and run away. Very similar to Howl, but instead of coming out of you, it's coming out of a corpse. No one really uses this skill. It's kind of strange, but it is here. Maybe I'll do a weird build with Grimward sometime. Okay, anyway. So, gotta kill off the last 5 monsters in the den. Didn't even put skill points in, did I? Right. Rejuvenation potions are nice. So, regular healing and mana potions will heal you over time. Rejuvenation potions, oh, they're also flat amount, so this heals 60 points when you drink it over time. Rejuvenation potions have 2 differences between regular potions. First, they heal a percentage base, so they scale well into the game. Late into the game, you get more and more health out of them the higher level you are. The other part is they heal that portion instantly, which can be very useful for staying alive. So they're usually worth hoarding for later, harder parts of the game. Right. Pull off these last couple of monsters. I like to usually save this guy for last. He's the one unique monster in the Den of Evil. Corpse Fire always has that modifier Spectral Hit, which means he does elemental damage to you. I think it rotates between lightning, fire, ice, and poison. So he just chilled me, so I was cold and slowed for a bit. And they poisoned me, yeah. They rotate when they have Spectral Hit on what damage type they're doing.
The rogues are safe for the moment.
Okay. Get back to town.
You have cleansed.
Alright, cool. So that's an extra skill point. Okay. So, Whirlwind does not have any synergies. Notably, it is Actually, I thought it was magic damage, but I could be wrong on that. I know Berserk is. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with Berserk. Magic damage is one of the best damage types in the game. As I was talking about Hell difficulty, monsters have immunities. And magic damage is the most rare of the immunities. Followed by physical damage is not very common for monsters to be immune to. And then the three elements and poison. So that's fire. In fact, you can look at the character screen to see these are the other 4 damage types: fire, cold, lightning, and poison. All of these are relatively evenly distributed throughout Hell as monster immunities, with fire being the most common. As you can imagine, I mean, it's the Legions of Hell, so kind of makes sense. So magic damage is really powerful. So usually how Whirlwind Barbarians will work, this will be their main attack, and it's physical damage. And then if you run into monsters that are physical immune, you can use Berserk, which is magic damage. So I'll probably be doing a little bit of both. The other nice thing about Berserk is it gets a synergy from battle orders. So first of all, synergies are those little Berserker receives bonuses from a part at the bottom of the toolkit. Every point, and that's only hard points you invest with your skill points. Every point you put in that skill gives a bonus to Berserk. So Howl and Battle Orders, every point I put into those gives 10% extra damage Berserk. And, as I've stated before, Battle Orders is one of the best Warcries. So it's worth investing in. So it's kind of a win-win, gravy on the top type of deal. Whirlwind doesn't receive any of those bonuses, but trust me when I say it does not need them. It's a very cool skill, and you'll see it when we get there.
Hello.
Oops. The other thing you get from the Den of Evil quest is this respec. Basically, if you make mistakes or you want to change your build, you can use this. I may just decide to use that once I hit level 30 to respec into Whirlwind. So maybe I'll just invest points wherever I feel like for now and do that. It can be tough to decide which mastery to go for with the Barbarian because you don't know what kind of cool items you're going to find. When you're twinked, that is, you use items from other characters, then you kind of know what you're going for because you have items set aside for you. But when you're solo self-found, you don't know what good items you're going to find and what type of weapon they're going to be. So he can have masteries in swords and daggers, axes, maces, spears, pole arms, and throwing mastery is a little different. It works for all items that can be thrown. In fact, I am currently using a throwing item, although that bonus only applies when you throw the item, not when you use it as a melee weapon. So, probably won't be doing that, but I don't know what my weapon's going to be, what weapon I'm going to find that I want to use. So it can be tough to kind of decide. That being said, since we do have respecs, not a big deal. However, I am using a javelin right now, which is considered a spear. You can see. Oh, actually, it might not be. I'm not sure. I thought were considered spears. I know that on the Amazon, any spear-related skills also are usable with javelins. So, I'm not sure. Let's see. What does it say? Fear fighting skills. Sometimes the tooltips on these skills can be a little deceiving. This could work for javelins or might not. Hard to say. Well, we'll just play it by ear for now. I mean, I'm not having trouble killing anything.
Greetings.
Talk to you in a minute, lady. Okay. Scroll a book of town portal, book of identify, good to have. Save you space in your inventory. Each of them holds 20 scrolls. You can long press X to buy in bulk. Keys also, you can hold up 12 in one stack. And you need keys to open lock chest. And if it's locked, it tends to have better loot. Oh, that is much better. So here's that modifier I was talking about, repair ability. If you get an ethereal item with that, if you're lucky enough, then you can treat it like a regular item. And the trade-off with ethereal, I didn't actually mention this before, but ethereal items, while cannot be repaired, they have extra stats. So if it's an armor piece, they have higher defense. If it's a weapon, they have extra damage. So they can be really good to get a little extra boost, but then they run out after a while. Dagger. Fire damage and just a base damage boost. Let's see if this is any better than one. Do 2 to 12. Put this on 3 to 11. About the same average damage. Does fire instead of lightning. I'll keep the javelin for now. Fine. Oh, I can use this charm now. Level 6, I'll be able to use a new skill. Leap. Or I could do double swing. I'm not going to restrict myself from using any of the skills in this combat skills tree. None of them give me a huge advantage, so I think that's fair. Whereas Warcry has a damaging spell and be endgame and does not require amazing gear or even particularly good gear to be good. Whereas combat skills very much depend on having a good weapon, so I won't be restricting myself to the use of any of these. Well, let's see. At level 6, warns of impending danger improves the defense. So this is a nice little buff I can get at level 6. So I need to put a level point in this. As you can see, the arrow indicates that this is required before I can grab this skill. So I'll put a point here so that when I get level 6, I can hit this. And also at level 6, I can hit double swing and leap. Leap is negligibly useful. You have to put points into it for it to go up in usefulness as far as how far you jump. It does knock back monsters, so that can be useful. But usually what you want to go for is leap attack. Not only does it hit monsters for damage instead of just knockback, it also has no range limit. And you can actually cast it with no target. So you can use it to bypass certain barriers like rivers, stuff like that. You could jump over them. So that's pretty useful as a mobility skill. And actually leap attack can be built in its own right. Okay. Dagger. I'm going to... So in the materials tab in the new update, you can actually store 2 potions, rejuvenation potions. Do that. Probably go buy a cheap belt too, so I can hold more potions. Belt. I will be allowing a mercenary in this playthrough. When you're playing solo, self-found, it's not a huge advantage. They're helpful, but half the time they're dying, especially late in the game. Another thing to note is bosses actually do multiplier in damage to minions, including mercenaries. So they tend to die pretty easily to bosses, and you're not going to find like the GG endgame gear for them in a solo self-found run, unless you're really, really lucky. Although I do have increased drop rates. We'll see. For now, I'm going to allow mercenaries. If it feels like they're too powerful, I will reevaluate. So with this update, there's a cool new feature. You can throw your stuff in the stash easily. So you're going to probably notice that this tab looks a little weird. That's because I'm playing with the controller, and I have this increased stash size mod. The combination of those two things makes this a little wonky, but it's still usable. We'll go ahead and show you what I mean. It still goes into where the silhouettes are, so it's still functional. It just looks a little weird. Big thing for these, they go into the slot here. So something we'll have to deal with. I'm going to put stamina potions here. As I said before, it's good to have.
What can I do?
For early game, usually with Diablo 2 characters, your best bet is to go for high vitality. And because of that, as a side effect, you end up with lots of stamina. One of the 2 effects of vitality is increased life and increased stamina. So eventually you don't need stamina potions anymore, but early game it can be nice. Lightning res, sure, $100. Right. And another thing you can do on console is hold down the right trigger to fill your belt with light potions in your inventory. Very useful. Okay. Eat as in.
You, partner.
I don't know why I'm shopping this stuff. Probably not going to be worth having. Maybe I'll find a big free socketed axe and I can use that for a while. Put some runes or gems in it. Normal attack speed. I prefer an axe. Got better base damage. As far as the low end, it's not bad. And there's something just satisfying about using an axe with a barbarian. So why not? You know what? I'm going to commit to axes for now. I'm going to put a point in axe mastery. As you can see, masteries are pretty good. They give you extra damage, extra attack rating, which is your chance to hit, and critical strike chance. As a baseline, critical strike is not a stat you get normally, but with the masteries, you get a chance to critically strike. One of the 2 characters that can get that naturally. And then there's also a skill called, or a modifier on certain weapons called Deadly Strike. And that's like Critical Strike, it works the same way, but it is actually a separate roll. But Barbarians can get it naturally. Put some points in strength so I can get next. So usually why I save stat points. So if I find a piece of gear I want to use, I don't have to wait. Alright, big axe. That buffs boost my damage quite a bit. 2 to 12. To 15 to 28. My low end damage is higher than what my high end damage was before. So that's cool. And that's a pretty cool look. Big green tinted axe. Good stuff. Don't need that anymore. For that. Another thing I want to keep an eye out for is 3-socketed bows. Just so I can grab some gems or runes into a bow for my mercenary when I get her. Hey, look at that. Perfect. Buy that. And then once I get some gems to put in that, or runes, give my mercenary a nice little damage boost. Okay. Alright, enough time spent in town. Let's go kill some stuff. We'll kill Blood Raven. Speaking of, Blood Raven's an interesting character. Those who don't know, Diablo 1 had 3 heroes you could play as. You play as a warrior, who, as its name implies, is a melee fighter mostly. The next character was the rogue, who is an archer type character, uses bows, and the sorcerer, who, as again the name implies, is a magic user primarily. And the character Bloodraven in this game is canon reported to be the rogue from the first game. He succumbed to the darkness, and it must be put down in this game. All 3 of the heroes have a pretty tragic ending from the first game. Sadly. They, quote-unquote, defeated Diablo, but they still kind of lost. I'll off the little guys first. Get less damage output on me. Nice. Okay. So, yeah. Additionally, and this is relatively commonly known if you've played Diablo games, the main bad guy of this game, Diablo himself, is actually the main character warrior named Aiden in the first game, canon-wise. At the end of the game, he takes it upon himself to contain Diablo's soulstone, and it ends up eventually taking control of him, and he becomes the new Diablo. So that's the fate of the warrior, and then the sorcerer ends up going mad and becoming the summoner at the end of Act 2's Arcane Sanctuary. Basically, he goes mad and tries to kill people and control demons. So, all of them had tragic ends. Some more tragic than others, of course. Level it up. Put a few points more into vitality just to make sure I'm nice and survivable. At level 6. Then we'll go ahead and grab Scout. Find that. Oops. Use that. And I'm going to hold off on double swing for now because I'm using a big axe and that doesn't get affected by this. And I don't really need leap right now, so. Alright. Oh, this is the stony field. I'm in the wrong spot. Oops. I wanted to go kill the blood raid. I guess I can find the waypoint and then go back. Put a portal here. Alright. I'm down the shamans. Kill them first. Rare armor, cool. Rare. Watch would be useful. And I put a point in axe mastery. Yeah, like I said, respect's the thing, so it's not a big deal. Ooh, that was cool. Right. You know what? I'll find more rare axes. It's fine. Ooh, grand charm. And chipped amethyst, nice. And my gem hoard in this game. Those 4 decks. I'm going to scoff at. Especially early on. Voice damage, gotta love it. Fun stuff. Okay. Right, let's find that waypoint, and then we can head back to the Gold Plains and find the path to the burial ground so I can take out the Blood Raven and get myself a mercenary. Archers, man, one of my least favorite enemies because they can mortalize you pretty easily. Alright, these stones here are part of one of the quests, and they always have a pack of carvers led by Rakanishu. Fun fact about his name, he was actually named after the sound one of the developers made when he sneezed. Yeah, be really careful with him. He can really hurt you. But he's also got a lot of experience early on, so nice to kill and get some extra XP. Some people farm him. Ooh, double and cap. So each character has a class-specific weapon or item, or sorry, weapon or armor piece that they can use. So in the case of barbarians, their class-specific item is helmets of the variety that look like they're made out of some sort of animal parts, or they're very Valkyrie-esque, I guess. In any case, or I guess not Valkyrie, but more like Viking type helmets. And Barbarian helmets, starting from the very beginning of the game, can have staff mods. Hey, what do you know? Axe Mastery. Perfect. A little bit of hit recovery, which is good. You don't want to be stuck in hit recovery frames. You can actually get stun locked that way and be murdered. So it's nice to have extra hit recovery. Axe Mastery, I'm using axes. And fire resist is also useful. So let's see. 40% attack rating, 28% damage, 5% chance of crit. Bad boy on. Yep, brings me up to the next level. 9% chance of crit, that's really nice. And it looked, well, honestly kind of goofy, but not too bad. Okay. Do it. One of the things I like about Whirlwind is its kind of area of effect damage. Barbarians don't have a lot of that. It'll be nice to have when I get there. Well then, leveling up can be slow. Right. Alright, I think I'm going to grab this waypoint and call it a night. It is about my bedtime. But we will pick this up next time. Okay, grab this stamina potion. Yeah, level up again. Level like crazy. Alright. Ooh, very cool. See, these little loot moments are always fun. That's why I like to have extra drops. Pick this bad boy out. I also have an armor, I think. Lightning res, poison res, attack damage. Mine is about the same. A little bit better with the defense, I guess. I'll just hang on to it for now. Okay. Not bad, but not anything to write home about. My axe is better. For now. Now, scepters, even though they are, as you can see, they add to paladin skills, they tend to be paladin type items. They're not actually class specific. His class specific item that only he can use is the shield, a special shield. And scepters also tend to have, well, especially early on, they have great base damage. So they can actually be pretty good to use early on. But I committed to axes for now, so I'm just going to go with that. Okay. What does he do, Liz? And attack rating, stamina. Stamina is always a funny little modifier because it's pretty much useless. Lightning res, not bad. Gold find. It'd be worth slapping that in something if I find something with the socket. Eh. Fulfilling shrine. That. I guess I might as well wake me up. Okay. All right, find this waypoint. Good run past monsters for now. We're actually a little bit over leveled for the area, so don't necessarily need to kill everything. And there we go. Okay, folks, that was first play session. I know I didn't get too far, but I like to explain things. And we will pick this up next time. Recap before we go. Axe, a little poison damage, repairs itself. Not anything special, but what we're using. Got this lucky drop. Plus one to axe mastery, the little fire res. Happens to be the path we were going down already. Got this after we chose axe mastery, so that's pretty cool. Cool rare gloves, rare armor. Both just have some res and some stats. Belt with 7 res, honestly, mostly for the belt slots. Honestly, early gear is, you could go naked and just have a weapon and be fine for a while, but, you know, feed yourself up a bit, it's always nice. And let's check out these jewelry pieces. I'll take the max damage, honestly. Ooh, gold find. I am a greedy gremlin after all. So I'm going to pop that bad boy on. I do like my extra gold find, and especially magic find if I can find some of that. Another charm that's honestly just fine. And we'll deal with the inventory when we get back next time.
What you need?
Pair up my gear though. I won't forget. Alright, this has been Grumbo. We will see you in the next one. Signing off.